Hi, I'm Michaela Mohr.
Nice to meet you, Michaela.
And I'm Annie Galke, and we're from the Cotter Chronicle with...
Taff Roberts.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
What is the fascination with recreating a famous journey?
What's the fascination with recreating a famous journey? I knew very little of the journey. I read about it as a young boy, the Franklin expedition to the north, trying to seek the Northwest Passage. And it's an expedition that it was not visual. It was all imaginary. Seeing the scenery there was in my mind, and I just had a vision of it that I really wanted to recreate. I wanted to go and see it. I wanted to go and smell it. I wanted to go and feel it, feel the wind. And the thing about this particular part of the world for me is that it's nobody living there, and it's lonely, and it's all been created by nature, by the forces of the wind, the ice. And the ocean, and following this trip in a historical way, it was very fascinating, but it was getting to me when I go on a trip like this. It's the journey. It's not getting to an end. It's just what are you going to come upon? What are you going to find out? And that's what this movie that we are going to show this weekend is going to be about. What we met, including the storms, including the polar bears, and the wind and the inclement weather and everything that came towards.
How did you assemble your shipmates? Can you tell us about one who was a colorful character?
Colorful character. Well, I have to tell you, there were 5 people on this boat, and the reason why I was on this boat, because I went to school with David Rice, Di Rice we call him, 45, 48 years ago. And he went off to do his work for 40 years, and I never saw him hardly at all. But he called me up 2 years ago and said, "Do you want to go on a trip up to the Arctic?" And I said, "Northwest Passage," and he said, "Yes." I said, "I'll go with you." So our shipmates, there was his brother, and his name was Peter Rice, and he's a commercial pilot in Africa, and he's 71 years of age, and he's still flying all over Africa. And there was a couple of other people on board, and her name was Catherine Harvard, and she had sailed around the world on her own boat. She's a fantastic sailor, and she came on board, and her boyfriend also came. And is that who you asking me about? It was the boyfriend? In some ways, he was interesting because he, the thing you have to understand about being on a boat is there's not much room. It's 42 feet on our boat. So you have to keep out of each other's way. And if somebody is causing a problem, then it can be really contentious. And yes, there were times that it was very difficult for all of us. And I'm not sure where this movie is going, but I have to watch what I'm saying.
How has travel enriched your life?
Probably it's been the greatest teacher to me in my lifetime. And I just met with some other people earlier on today, and I did a 16-week bike trip through Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland in 1982. Probably one of the greatest trips I ever took. You know, it's getting along the way you meet these people, and if you go as a tourist, you're going to travel as a tourist. You're going to stay in the same hotel as the people stayed there the night before. If you go as a traveler, you get to meet these other people that are not in the hotel. The conversations that you can get in a hostel in Scotland or in Iceland or wherever it is, it's going to be different from that which you can get in the Hyatt or the Marriott hotel. People are talking about different things. So as you go as a traveler, it just educates you in a different way. And enriching, traveling is my greatest teacher.
So you said that there were 5 people on this boat, and how did you guys manage to be able to cooperate with each other for so long?
Sometimes well, sometimes not so well. So oftentimes, like in the Arctic, When you go up into the Arctic, there's no police up there. There's no quick trips. There's nothing up there. You're it. You have to take your own food up there. You have to take your own security things up there. You have to take your duct tape up there or wherever it is. There is nothing to help you. So one of the ways of disciplining yourself in situations that can get a little frantic sometimes on the boat is to try and contain yourself if you can. Going ashore if you can, and taking a walk by yourself. But it's immersing yourself with the world of nature. It's to me, that's the connection, is being surrounded by nature. And to me, this was one of the best parts of this movie, of this trip for me, was just being with nature one-on-one. And when you do that, it's just so valuable. It's so wonderful. And it's so difficult to do that in this world today because there's so many distractions. One of the reasons we made this movie was to inspire older people to go and do the things they want to do. But there's a second reason, and that is so that those people can inspire young people like you and people in their 20s and 30s also to get off some of these things that you're playing with and spend that time in the world of nature, connecting with nature. It is so beautiful. And I grew up with it. I was lucky. We didn't have these gadgets at the time. And I grew up in the country in Wales, and the owls used to hoot at night in the trees behind the house. And I knew there was another world out there. And I wanted to sometimes go out into that world. And that's what going on trips like this for me does. It's just one-on-one with nature. It is so powerful. It's so beautiful. And more young people, we have to get them connected. We have to have them love this earth that we're living in.
As you just said, you made the movie to inspire people. But what really inspired you to inspire people?
2 years ago, I had just finished with another project in town here. And this whole thing about this trip came up. And I found out I was going up into the Arctic. And somebody said to me, "Oh, why don't you make a movie on it?" I said, "I've never, I'm not a movie guy. I'm not a technician in any way, and plus I don't have any camera equipment." And the next thing that happened is somebody came up with the money for the film equipment, and then I met with somebody who I bounce things off from now and again, and I said, maybe I should make this film to inspire people. And it turned out that we talked ourselves out of me making the movie because I'm an avid bird watcher. And we thought it would take away from what I wanted to do. But I realized there was an opportunity here. Something spoke to me that, why don't you share this with people? And that's what happened. And it was very scary because when somebody gives you $5,000 worth of camera equipment, taking it, I'd never made a film before. I didn't know what I was talking about. And my editor gave it to me and said, "This is what you're supposed to do." I went off into the Arctic. I was afraid that somebody would steal the equipment. It would fall in the water. Somebody else using the camera might drop it. But I took it along. I took the fear chip out. And the film is a 35-minute documentary. We're very, very happy with it.
When you first came to the theater earlier today, you said that after you go to college, you get an education, you get married, you have kids, and then you have a job. Then you have that period of time where you can go do something you want to do in the world. Couldn't we do that now?
Can we do it now? I don't know, but timing. I think we all have different timing in our bodies. Some young people know exactly what they want to do and how to get it, and they go for it. And there's some people that have problems with that at the age of what you're at right now, which I did. I'm sorry to say I was a basket case in school. And I left at the age of 16. I left. And I went traveling. But it's different for everybody. And I think you just have to gauge that. My son went to school for 2 years. And then he went off and did exactly what I did. So.
What is some of the best advice you could give to somebody who's very adventurous?
Keep on going.